Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's travel update. And as you guys know, last night before I went to bed, when I made my video update, this was still an invest. And now we got a rapidly intensifying tropical cyclone Tiffany out here in the northwest Coral Sea. As you can see here, it's located 13.9 south, 146 east. Next sustained winds are at 50 knots or 60 miles per hour. Minimal central pressure is at 995, and this is rapidly intensifying as it approaches Cape York Peninsula. So as we can see, this is starting to get that look of something that is intensifying rather quickly as it heads into the peninsula here. As you can see, we got some vertical hot towers that are wrapping in, and you can see the blob is growing a little bit too as we go out through the frames here. It looks like it's gonna skirt this tip here of Queensland and probably go somewhere. I'm gonna guess somewhere between 13 and 14 south. That's probably where it's gonna make landfall, and it's going to traverse the lands and go into the Gulf where warmer waters await it. So the threats have been ongoing for a while now because you see this tail end to the west here that's been bringing inclement weather to the peninsula. So you've already had very heavy rains. You probably had some gusty winds. I don't know how the storm surge is like over there, but I'm sure there's some water rises on the peninsula. And then you got this big blob that's coming. This is going to be where most of the bad weather is. And this should be coming on around shore in the next like 12 hours or so. So that's when you're going to get the weather to really go downhill. And you're probably definitely going to get some storm surge out of it once that part comes in. So let's see what the Joint Typhoon Warning Center has for this. And as you can see, it has a 60 knot peak going into the peninsula. That's the first peak. But somehow I don't agree with that because it's rapidly intensifying right now. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there. And it looks like to this, it has about 15 to 18 hours before landfall. So that's plenty enough time to surpass 60 knots, in my opinion. But then it gets here into the Gulf, and they only have a 65 knot peak, which that I don't agree with either. But this is the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. They've already made some very questionable decisions already in the last couple of weeks. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. But I don't really agree with that too much. All right, so let's take a look at the GEFS tracks and minimal MSLP, and as you can see, it's down to 993 millibars, but that shows it's strengthening on land. So I don't know how reliable this is, unless something is like a front or something is coming to amplify it, and they both join together. Then that might be a different story. But as you can see, the GEFS doesn't really take it too strong in the Gulf area here. All right, here's a GEPS track and minimal MSLP, and as you can see, once it goes right into Cape York Peninsula, it starts to backtrack towards the southeast, and that's once it gets off the peninsula, it starts to strengthen again. 990 millibars, 990, and I don't know if I buy this track, to be honest with you. I see this guy. I see this sadly going into the Gulf. That's just what most models show at this current point in time. All right, so here is the GFS, and finally, the GFS wants to acknowledge the system. So right now it is 997 millibars. So we're gonna go. There's 990, so we got a decent landfalling tropical cyclone, and then it just kind of kaputs after that, and then tries to get back together here a little bit in the Gulf. So the GFS still is not too keen on this system like other models are. But we can see if it's keen on the rainfall, which we will do right now. So as you can see, we're in the purples. There's some brighter colors in there, so we're anywhere between 225 millimeters to 125 millimeters, which we're gonna find out. 125 millimeters, 2 inches, 4 inches, 225. Yeah, 4 to 9 inches. We're gonna say 4 to 9 inches of rainfall in these areas, going throughout time and all that. And now I'm just going haywire. All right, let's keep it to 120, please. Okay. So yeah, 4 to 9 inches is still enough to cause flooding concerns in some of these areas as Tiffany rolls on in. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the European here. And the European has been the most bullish on this system. As you can see, this was initialized as 0Z, and we're at 102 millibars here. 998, 1003. And then we get a nice little strengthening phase as it goes into the Gulf. 987, 978. So I'm going to say it probably makes landfall at probably like between 975 and 978 maybe, because we don't really know what happens in that 24-hour time period, because it looks like it's already on land at the next 24-hour mark. So this is what the Euro is shown, and let's take a look at some vorticity on this thing. Now we're looking into all the other stuff here. So as you can see here on the Euro, here's the vorticity, and it starts to really tighten up in the next 24 hours here. You can see that it's starting to bundle together energy as it gets closer to the peninsula. And then, as you can see, since it's on land, it's only right that it unravels a little bit, because it's land. These areas around here on the peninsula may be flat, but that's not gonna save it from doing any weakening. And then, as you can see, in 24 hours out from this point, it really starts to tightly wrap up again. And then 96 hours, it looks about the same as it did at 72 hours. So we're definitely going to be in for a ride here for Australia for the next five or so days. And then, as you can see, it pretty much stalls out. Well, not stalls out, but it moves slowly afterwards. I'm kind of looking past a little bit, days 6 and 7. So this is going to dump some copious amounts of rain on some people at some point in time. All right, so here is the CMC, and this is initialized at 0Z stay. And as you can see, 24 hours out, 1001. The CMC keeps it kind of weak, but then once it gets into the Gulf, it starts to really pick up some steam here. But that's not until it gets into the Western Gulf, though. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. So 5 days out, we're looking at 979 millibar Category 2 equivalent, hurricane equivalent cyclone as we go out through the 5-day time frame. So yeah, there's that. Let's see if we got any precipitation. We do. So here we go. We're going to look at the CMC total precipitation amount. And as you can see, it's pretty much on board, at least for the peninsula, with the 4 to 9 inch rainfall totals. So, but as we get into the 5-day time frame, this is where it differentiates from the GFS. As you can see, now we're getting up to the yellows now. So this is anywhere between 300 and 500 millimeters of rain. So this is, let's take a look at that too. All right, so 350, no, that's not what we want. 350, no, that is also not what we want. Here's 2 inches. So 13 to 21 inches. 13 to 21 inches according to the CMC in some of these areas at the 120-hour mark. So that's the copious amounts of rain that part of Australia is going to have to deal with if CMC comes to fruition here, which, I hope not, because that's going to lead to not only the wind damage, but it's going to also lead to some major flooding issues, um, and some other, problems that you don't want with tropical cyclones. All right, so to finish up what's going on here, as you can see, it's east of the Cape York Peninsula here, and it's dealing with 29 degrees Celsius water, which is plenty warm enough for rapid intensification purposes. But once it gets into the Gulf here, it has 31s and 30s and 31s, and even some pockets of 32s to work with here. So that's extra fuel for maybe some explosive intensification if the wind shear is light, and how much land interaction it deals with in the peninsula. Now, that's nothing to sneeze at, because we're gonna hope that the wind shear kicks up a little bit so that the system cannot take advantage of these warm waters. But if the wind shear is low, then it's gonna probably explode. I don't want to say that, but in most of my cases, if you got hot water and low wind shear, you're probably gonna explode. So that's just I'm just being real with you guys. So with that being said, I want Australia to be weather aware today. I don't want people to think that I'm forgetting about, Tropical Depression 5P. I'll have a video update on that this evening. And I will be back with another update tomorrow morning with Tiffany. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys again later on this evening. Have a nice day.